Welcome to the Art of Connection, Muslim Matters Edition. I am your host, Bilal Khan, and this piece is about relationships, especially among family members. If you're children of immigrants, what happens is that the children here, they grow up in an American culture, but the parents, they tend to be of a different culture, and typically having an understanding of what is culture is simply a combination of things that we deem important coupled with the way that we do things. So for example, respect to parents is something that both American society as well as foreign societies will deem as a value, as a virtue. However, the way that respect to parents is applied is a little bit different. In American society, are friends with somebody if you respect them. However, overseas, I know in the Indian subcontinent, maybe even the Arab culture, but definitely in the Eastern cultures, respect goes with giving them or treating them with authority, not questioning them. Essentially, it's almost like a formal relationship. Now, in American society, growing up, somebody may perceive that as being authoritarianism. And that in of itself isn't something that breeds respect. Two things that are commonly valued, but the way it's implemented is a little bit different. Now, one of the things that I'm thinking about, how do we bridge cultural gaps between parents and their kids, especially when they grew up in two different worlds? And one of the thoughts that I was having is, I was just looking back at my childhood, and one of the things I'm really grateful for is the fact that I have very close relationship with my parents. One, the age difference between my parents and I was a lot less compared to the age difference between the parents of my friends and my friends themselves. So I think that played a big part in it. But one thing that I do remember that a lot of them didn't experience, essentially two things. One, my parents would tell me a lot of stories about their childhood, stories about their families and their siblings. And it wasn't just stories about, hey, when I was in my day, this is what we would do. No, but it was more so about a means of me getting to know their family members, in India, and as a means for me to kind of grow up with them while they weren't really there. And it was an interesting feeling when I visited India for the first time. My mom had told me so many stories about her family, and my dad had told me so many stories about his family, that by the time I got there, I started recalling all of those stories. They would recall it and tell me the story from their side. So, like for example, my dad was telling me about how one time his younger brother got popcorn stuck in his nose, and they were afraid that the popcorn was going to get stuck in his brain, so they would inject some water up his nose, and it was just kind of like a painful ordeal. But hearing that from his perspective, from my uncle's perspective, was something that was interesting, because now I got to see the complete story. But it was the interesting thing was that when I finally met them, it was like I already knew them. So it was connecting me to a bigger group, a bigger community, a bigger family of people. This is one. The other thing also has to do with, yes, my parents they shared stories and memories of their childhood growing up. But the other important thing is that we as families also made some memories. Now, I remember when I was younger, we fell upon some harder financial times. So part of being able to sustain ourselves, one of the things that my dad would do is deliver newspapers. And he would have me come along with him. Now, delivering newspapers isn't a fun thing, but in hindsight, looking back at that, spending that time together, having that experience together is something that I believe brought us all a lot closer. And at the same time, we knew that we were engaging in it together because it was a common goal for the sake of the family. And at the same time, it also kind of instilled this idea of, it's like, you do what you got to do to be able to help and support the people that you care about and that you're responsible for. And that was my dad kind of leading by example. But the thing was that we did things together. So I guess the question that comes about is, if we really want to foster relationships and we really want to build family ties, and we want to bridge that cultural gap, so to speak, then the question is, what are you doing to make memories together? What are you doing what stories what adventures are you going on? So that way, when you yourselves have kids, that you'd be able to share with them their very experiences, so that they could one day look forward to meeting their extended family. May you be blessed with peace, safety, security, and freedom now and the days to come. I'll see you soon.